Norman is the third largest city in Oklahoma, and it's growing really fast, and we want to show you around. So now that we've got a clean windshield, we're going to take off. So what we have planned for you today, and when I say we, I'm talking about me and my husband Handsome. He is driving. We do work together in real estate, and so Norman's a lot bigger of a city than what we usually cover with you. So like we've driven like Newcastle, Blanchard, Choctaw, and those are smaller cities, like 20,000 and under. And Norman is a town of 128,000 people. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, especially as we're driving through things. But Norman acts a little bit as its own metro, meaning that people come to Norman as like, instead of going to Oklahoma City for specific things. So I have this split into two videos. This first part is going to be the south and east sides of Norman. Now, these are really arbitrary, these markers that I have for you. So part of what Norman, of course, is known for is University of Oklahoma, and right now we are not close to it. We're like 3 miles-ish away, 2 miles. And that isn't close in Norman terms. And do we talk about things in terms of how close they are to campus? Yeah, 100%. We do that all the time. Everyone does. It's in the center of town. Right now, we are headed to South Norman. And the way I have this set up, first the South Norman boundaries, and like this isn't going to be exact. I just had to split this up so that you could understand where I was. So in South Norman, it's south, anything south of Lindsay, all the way east until like 48th Street, and then all the way south to Post Oak, which sometimes the line for like South Norman, like actual city limits, goes all the way down to Etowah Road. Etowah meaning E-T-O-W-A-H, and that's how I say it. I guess that's how everyone says it. And then on the west side, the boundary that I'm using is essentially the river, because like once you get to the river, everything's kind of a floodplain, so no one really lives down there. So it's right now we're going kind of we're going towards campus, but we're going down Flood. That's what we're turning left on. So right now we're at Robinson and Flood, and right now you're kind of seeing the traffics. Like it's 2:30. Which means that, or actually it's almost 3 o'clock, just kidding, which means that people just picked up their little kids. So the littles, I think, get out at 2:30 up until junior high, and then high school gets out, I believe, at 3:30 or 3:45. So that's a totally different set of traffic sometimes, but that is kind of what you're seeing. So a lot of times for Oklahomans, what you're seeing right here is a lot of traffic. Now you might be asking, why did they name this street Flood? Does it flood? And yeah, it does. Not, of course, whenever it's not raining, but when it does rain, there's water in this street. Like not all the time. It has to be raining pretty hard, and we're kind of entering that season right now. We're filming in early spring, so it's March. So yeah, the storm drains don't always drain everything away. But we haven't had rain in a couple of weeks, and we're about to have some rain this week. So like 4 or 5 days of rain. This is like a commercial, industrial sort of area of Norman. So now we're into like this sort of residential area, and it's a very old residential area of Norman. I think these are like the 40s homes, so built right after the war. I'd have to double check on some of those, but they were definitely built a long time ago. And when I say the war, I mean World War II. Norman actually had a army base in World War II, and it acts now as our airport. So we have a couple of buildings from that time. So now we're crossing Gray, and we're about to hit Main Street and Flood. So now we're on Main. We're actually driving by the main, like the regular high school, meaning like Norman High. So we have Norman High School and Norman North. Norman North is north. I know that's shocking. It's north of Norman High. Norman High was the original one, and Norman North, I believe, was like 1997 or so, whenever they made that school. Main Street is 4-laned, so it's a pretty big street, and in downtown right now it does go one way, and supposedly they are changing it. They're working on the other half of the one-way street right now. It's taking a long time, but eventually all of it should be two-way. So these houses in here, this is another residential area. It's very popular. We are at this point, what, a mile and a half from campus? A mile and a half from campus. So like, it sounds like it's not very far, but like, it is far. I mean, there will be students that like rent here and stuff, but guys, this town's 128,000 people. A lot of times, and I think that this is a small town Oklahoma thought process, and like I kind of had this too whenever I moved to Norman, but the town revolves around OU, yes, but not everyone is associated with OU. It is the biggest employer in town, 100%, but there's still 128,000 people, and the school only has like 25,000 students. So it's not as big of a deal as one would think. So the farther you get away from it, the less your life kind of revolves around it. So we're about to cross Boyd. We are driving down Berry. And now we're very close to campus, because if we turned left down Boyd right now, we would be on campus essentially. And I do have a video walking campus, because campus is hard to drive because they don't like that. You know, it's made for walking, academia style. So I do have another video. I will put that in the notes for you and up above here. So you can kind of see this like little line of traffic. All right, we just passed Berry and Lindsay, which means that we are in South Norman. These homes through here are, some of them are $1 million properties. Some of them are not, but they are typically going to be older. Some of them are newer. They're going to be older. They're going to have sort of this like estate type of feel. They're going to be brick almost always. And a lot of them, especially the ones on the left that you're going to see, they're going to be on like half an acre, like a third of an acre. It just depends on the lot itself. But I mean, this was the edge of town at one point, so that all makes sense, especially whenever those were built, those are mostly 60s and 70s homes. So you do get a lot of remodels in here too. And as you can see, there are a lot of trees, which is not really that normal for a lot of Norman. Don't feel like I'm ignoring the right side. They are very similar houses, but they're going to have smaller lots on that side of the street. But they're still, to me, equally as gorgeous and fun. These are all going to be super unique homes. And sometimes the turnover can be low. Sometimes you'll find flips. Sometimes you'll find a random brand new house in a lot that was never built on. But there are definitely some cool mid-century styles. There's some like multi-level homes. So it just depends on what you're looking for. So right now we're turning right on Imhoff. The first neighborhood I'm taking you to is a pretty unique neighborhood in Norman. I like it a lot. It's called Rustic Hills. And I just wanted to show you kind of what that sort of, it's like a campus or South Campus vibe that you could get with like all these trees. That's going to be an older home, and what that feels like. I mean, it just depends on how well they're remodeled, you know, on the prices, because most of them are pretty big. This is a small street for sure. Some of them sit for a long time because they can be like a little, like, people think they're worth more than they actually are. But, you know, it happens. It happens. But this, you're not going to get super big lots. They're mostly older. But they are all definitely unique and in a pretty spectacular location. And it is trash day and recycle day in this neighborhood. We're still on Imhoff. So now we're on the south end of campus. So there's actually campus housing on my left. I actually used to live there. When I moved to Norman, it was 2007. I was a freshman in college, so you can probably figure out my age from there. And when...
I have to go down Lindsay.
Huh?
I think I have to go down Lindsay.
You're going down Lindsay?
Okay.
Oh, because the road's closed? Yeah. They're doing some construction. So we're turning left on Chautauqua. So right in front of us is Lloyd Noble. But like I was saying, I came to Norman in 2007. It has changed a lot since then. Hansa moved to Norman in 2000, the year 2000. I was really young. He's older than me. You did 4 years at the university?
Sure.
He doesn't remember. I did 4 years at the university and stayed in Norman afterward, before we got married. And it was fun, but it's a lot different now. As you may have heard, OU entered the SEC, which now I understand way more than I ever wanted to about how the football conferences work. But it essentially means that we get a lot more people coming to town, which is really nice for our town. We have a nice town, so it's fun that people get to visit. So there is a story behind like the campus trees. So the first president of the university, President Boyd, when he got here, and if you go see the photos like in the president's building on campus, you'll be like, oh yeah, that looks terrible. There were no trees on this place. Like, it was barren. So he planted a bunch of trees, and that's why we have them. So the university was founded in 1889 was the year, if I remember correctly. So we just passed one of the museums. It's a fun one, the Natural History Museum. If we went straight, you can kind of see like big buildings, homes looking things. That's sororities and fraternities. So now we're like going by the law school and stuff. So this is Timberdell. That's the name of the street. OU has one of the 3 law schools in the state. It's the biggest, I believe. They've added a ton of buildings since I've been in Norman. There's a lot of investment on campus. They're really doing a lot of construction down here. I guess I've seen this, because Jenkins, this is what they keep emailing me about. So I'm on like the city's email list, so I get all these alerts about construction. I don't always pay attention to them, clearly, but this is, they're making it wider. This is right next to Reeves Park, and the Medieval Fair is one of the big events in Norman, and it's next week for us. I probably won't go, but it is fun, and people talk about it, and it's kind of the talk of the town for a couple of weeks. And on my right here is the softball stadium, if you don't know, we are obsessed with softball. Not me personally. The state tends to be. And this is the new field for that. We are hosting, well, Oklahoma City's hosting the Olympics for softball, which is kind of cool to have the Olympics in Oklahoma. Like, who would have thought? So this is Constitution and Jenkins. So you'll notice like a lot more traffic lights because it's a huge town compared to like Blanchard, which is like 5,000 people. It's not that small, but you know what I mean. So you're really gonna see just a lot more like activity, a lot more traffic, and of course a lot more things to do. So one of our golf courses is down here. Jimmy Austin, right? Yeah. That's where the OU people golf. And then the Weather Center is down here on my right. Of course, OU is the #1 meteorology school in the nation, which makes sense. I'm sure you all have questions about tornadoes, so drop those in the comments. I will answer them.
See how windy it is.
Yeah, it's super windy, but that's springtime. So I think the wind is probably like 15 miles an hour all day today. So the light just turned green at our traffic light. We're at Classen and Constitution. And there is a neighborhood market Walmart right in front of us. We have a couple of these in town. We also have 3 super Walmarts. Yeah, you heard me right. It's 3. So we're going down Jenkins, still going south. We're going to cross Highway 9, which is, some people would say, the actual boundary of South Norman. It just depends on like where you live and what you think about that. Like, honestly, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to show you like where everything is or give you a good idea. Oh, it's taking you to Oakhurst. Yeah, we're going to Oakhurst first. I like map out my stuff before we get in the car, of course, so we're not driving around aimlessly. And it's taking us, I think, to a different neighborhood than what I originally planned, but that's fine. We are passing the Lennar villages right now, so if you haven't seen those, they're extremely affordable, brand new homes here in South Norman. It is our only Lennar neighborhood. Because I did not hit the red record button the other day, I'm taking you through this neighborhood, Oak Creek. I had to redo it. So if it looks a little bit different, that's what's going on. So this neighborhood, I have some people that have invested in some homes in here. I know that some people have lived in here for a very long time. So these homes are going to be like 70s and 80s style homes. So all of them are going to have a 2-car garage, unless of course they've been converted. There's no HOA in a neighborhood like this. Some of them, like I've seen some in here that are 2,000 square feet, but for the most part, we're looking at like 1,200 to 1,700 square feet for sure. And varying levels of maintenance for homes that are like for sale. Some have been fully redone. Some definitely need like new windows, new HVACs. But this is a popular neighborhood and a fairly decent sized neighborhood as well. Like here's a house over here where the garage has been converted. And then other homes, of course, that still have theirs. So lots of different styles in here. Like it's not going to feel super cookie cutter. And a lot of them are going to have pretty decent sized lots, which is also very nice. And you can see from the trees like how big or like how old these homes are. So that's one of my first questions for people is like, well, do you want a lot of trees in your neighborhood? Because if you do, then we need to look at older homes, because newer homes definitely don't have the trees that older homes do. So now we're driving south on 24th. And on our left is Reagan Elementary, and it's the newest elementary school in Norman, but it's several years old at this point. And there are lots of elementary schools in Norman since our population is larger. All of them except one are named after former U.S. presidents. So like for my neighborhood, it's Adams, as in John Adams. There's Truman, Roosevelt, and Eisenhower, all sorts of names. And then there's Lakeview. That's the one that's not named after a president. Where we're headed to now is a newer neighborhood, and it's called Cedar Lane. It may be why some of you hopped on this video, because a lot of you often are looking for newer or brand new homes. And I get that, because we have some of the least expensive brand new homes in the nation, which is awesome. But first, we're going to get on Highway 9, which is one of the main highways through Norman. So this traffic light is Highway 9 and 24th Avenue Southeast. We do have a bunch of very confusing names of roads that are numbers. So 24th Avenue Southeast is one of those. If we went straight, we would go to St. James Park. And on our left is the new hospital. So it's not the main hospital. The main hospital is on the west side of I-35, way further north. But this hospital is serving South Norman and some other areas down here. So it's super beautiful, honestly.
It's an emergency room.
Yeah, it's just an emergency room?
Yeah, it's not.
It's a big emergency room.
I mean, like, you're not going to do overnight stays. So there's no inpatient. Like,
It's not like the Pit.
they're not sending people upstairs.
Gotcha. So Handsome used to work at the hospital in Norman here, Norman Regional, and he says it's just the emergency room. He has friends that work there still. So now we're on Highway 9, about to turn left onto 12th Avenue Southeast, another one of those fun names. So on my right, I can see campus, and on my left, I can see the newest Super Walmart, one of those three that we have in town here. So here you get a good look at that Highway 9 traffic. Now, one of the things they say on Highway 9, and I'm pretty careful about it, is once that light turns green, you wait half a beat, because people are running those lights and they're going fast. So just a little tip. This is obviously a big intersection. There is one of the main bike paths here.
This is brand new done.
Yeah, it is brand new done. The bike paths are definitely not protected, but they're there. Meaning they're open to traffic. They don't have a curb or anything around them. All right, here we go. So there are a few neighborhoods down here. So the one we're going to drive into is Cedar Lane. There's also Monterey Park, and I think it's called Monterey Park. It's called Monterey something. Or maybe it's just Monterey. I can't remember. And then Eagle Cliff is down here. Of course, there's some apartments down here as well. So all of those I mentioned, also Independence Valley is down here. It's a little bit smaller of a neighborhood. It would be on my right. But these are all multi-decade and multi-builder neighborhoods. And if you're kind of wondering, is there anything down here? Yeah, there's the Starbucks, and there's Panda Express, and there's an Aldi's down here. There's Walmart. Noble is just down the road, so that's another town. It's a small town. And it's far from, you're adding an extra 20-ish minutes to your drive at times to Oklahoma City by living in South Norman. But if you're working at OU, it's kind of really perfect. So this is the entrance to Cedar Lane. They are still building new homes in here at the time of filming. So these homes all have at least a 2-car garage. They're all on normal city lots. It's a pretty big neighborhood. They're all brick. Some of them were built in the 2010s. I think they started this neighborhood right after the recession, and of course still building. There is an HOA in this neighborhood. There are 2-story homes, but most of them are going to be 1-story homes. They have a park. They have a pool, I believe. Yeah, they have a pool. I think so. Yeah, here's the park in front of us. And there's a new section that they're building right now. Yeah, that's City of Norman. Yeah, it's the City of Norman Park. So you're going to get kind of this style of home it's called a Dallas style. A lot of people call it like a ranch, but it's in reality not, because it's like the small front porches. That's a Dallas style. And inside, they're going to have split floor plans, meaning the primary bedroom is going to be separated from the other bedrooms. Some of them have a study, meaning a room without a closet, or maybe with a closet, in which case they'll call it a 4-bedroom. Almost all of them have, well, these are all brand new. I haven't been down here in a little bit. Almost all of them have carpet in the bedrooms, but not all. Some people have custom built their homes in here. Some people have not. Almost everything I'm seeing right now are Tabors. I can tell by the way the chimneys are, and also Tabor covers up their foundations in a way that other builders do not. This one on my right here is not a Tabor. But these all have 3-car garages. And a lot of them do have that bonus room upstairs. I'm laughing because me and Hanson were having a conversation. But I am a real estate agent, if you haven't figured that out. My name is Marcie Billen, and I like to show you guys what it could be like to live here in Oklahoma, and that's what this video is for. Also, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Also, if you want to see more homes in Norman that are for sale, I have a link in the description for you. And ultimately, what people end up doing if, you're moving here is a lot of times they call me and ask me to help them move. And I would love to do that for you. Whenever you call me, this is my actual phone number, and I'm the one that actually returns your phone call if I don't answer on the first time. So I do look forward to talking with you. Oh, man. Anyway, you didn't get to hear me and Hansom's conversation, but basically on my right are like the Aldi's and the Wendy's, like different things. Oh, there's a Chipotle now. How interesting. Is it open? It is. But basically me and Hansom were just talking about where we would live if we didn't live in our current house. And he was asking me if I would live south of campus in the 70s houses, the ones that were built in the 1970s. And I said yes. But I prefer to live west of campus, not south of campus. But right now we live in North Norman, so not near campus at all.
But closer than we did before.
Closer than we did before. Closer to downtown Norman. That's my favorite part of Norman. Personally, I have videos on downtown Norman that you can go check out. This video specifically is for you to see some of the neighborhoods and see sort of how Norman is split up and what part might be available or like the best for you to live in. So right now we're driving north on Classen. Classen turns into Porter at like closer to campus. And the next neighborhood we're going to is in East Norman. So we covered South Norman, so now we're going to East Norman. So for East Norman, the eastern boundary that I used is the railroad tracks. And we did just cross those. They kind of go at a diagonal through town. And we don't have train horns in Norman. I'll come back to that in a second. Handsome, don't let me forget. And then the eastern boundaries all the way out to the other side of the lake, which is the actual, like the lake, Thunderbird, Dirty Bird, is in Norman, and the boundary for Norman city limits is on the other side of it. And then East Norman goes south until Lindsay, like 48th-ish, and then the northern boundary that I have for us here today is Tecumseh. Tecumseh spelled Tecumseh, because I've noticed that sometimes people have no idea what I'm talking about. So I want to spell it for you. So we're going to visit a few different areas here to show you how different it is in East Norman versus South Norman. So on my left are like a few different things like physical therapy, but also one of our ramen places, banks, of course. Like everything is right here at your disposal. Plasma center, in case you need to sell some plasma.
I've done that a few times in my life.
Yeah. Ollie's, good stuff, cheap. I haven't been in there since they made that into Ollie's. Oh, so the train horns. I forgot about that for a second. So we don't have train horns. So all that means is the trains typically do not blow their horns. They will if they see danger or something. So maybe once a week I hear a train horn. I live pretty close to the tracks. A lot of people do. Of course, there's still the rumbling of the trains. You can hear that. But there's not going to be any horns. And the way that they make it safe, of course, is to put like these like little boundaries around, so you can't go around the arms, because of course people used to do that. I grew up in a town where there were like 200 trains a day, and people went around the arms a lot. So, not good. They've made it as safe as they possibly can.
So this would be like one of the main shopping hubs on the east side.
This is one of the main shopping hubs. So like Taco Bueno, my favorite Indian restaurant here in Norman, the best Goodwill here in Norman is over here. Handsome loves Goodwill. It's his favorite. Del Taco, Chick-fil-A. We have 2 Chick-fil-A's in Norman. We're very fancy. So now we're going west on Alameda. Alameda doesn't go all the way through town. It kind of starts in downtown and then goes all the way out to the lake. But we're driving towards downtown. On the right is like some city stuff. Or I guess it's state. Those are state buildings. Took me a second. On the left is, I really like this neighborhood over here too.
Yeah.
Very unique homes. None of them are cookie cutter. Definitely older. Some of them have pretty big lots, and part of that is because there's like a creek that runs through. They just made a new park here on my right, apparently. I saw that actually in my email from the state, or from the city. So the area that we're headed to next is Original Town. So Original Town, I used to live down here. Handsome loved my apartment. Whenever I lived down here, it was like 400 square feet. But I only had to pay $600 a month. It was awesome. But down here, you've got homes that were built in, let's see, these will be the 30s, I believe. So none of them are brick. They're all siding homes. But you're in walking distance to downtown, which is kind of the point for a lot of people.
Nice house.
Ah, it is cool. Got like a nice like sitting room. Hopefully they see this video and see how much we love their house. All unique, all definitely built whenever air conditioning was not a thing, but they all have the air conditioning now. Some of these are in a floodplain for sure, which, you know, it is what it is. Handsome does not prefer this. I like it because you can walk to downtown, which is in turn my favorite part of Norman. But sometimes we defer to Handsome. we were talking to some friends the other day about where their kid is going to live when they go to OU. And of course, they're going to be freshmen in the year 2026. And there's these old apartments that a lot of people lived in. And how much was the rent whenever you lived there?
Like $275, I think.
$275 a month.
For one person.
For one person, per person. Because it's campus apartments, but they're called Crately. And I've been in
But that's bills included.
Yeah, that is bills included, yeah. Because a lot of international students live in there. Right now, we are headed east again on Alameda. So the next neighborhood we're going to is Summit Lakes. I definitely show a lot of homes in this neighborhood. A lot of them are newer. All of them were built in this century, which it's kind of funny whenever I talk to people and that's like, yeah, I want something that's built, you know, in this 21st century. It's a weird conversation to have, but here we are. And there's a few different neighborhoods down here. Summit Lakes is definitely one of the larger ones. Another one is Royal Oaks. And it looks like school just got out, or all the kids were let loose. Is that yeah, that's a middle school. So they're walking. Just turning into Summit Lakes. I shot a video on this neighborhood, and I'll link it here for you, and know that there are a bunch of new homes that have been built since that video. It's nice in here because most everything, especially that's new, has a 3-car garage, which has been very important for clients recently. Oh wow, that lake is empty.
Yeah.
Oh, but they're working on it. Okay, they're working on it. So they drained it for a reason. Because usually it's full of water and it has a fountain in it. Oh my gosh. Oh. So the newer homes are going to be like further in, but these homes, they come up for resale a decent amount. I feel like these lots are a little bit bigger than some of the newer ones. Of course, there is an HOA in the neighborhood. Can't really get around it because that's just how it works. But our HOAs are pretty chill, and especially whenever you have like a pond or a lake like this one has, like, who's gonna mow it if you don't have an HOA? Like, that's the question. Like, what's gonna happen if you have this kind of neighborhood with this beautiful green space and you don't have an HOA? So I can't remember how much it is. I think it's $500 a year. Of course, whenever you have the homes that were built maybe in like 2012, 2013, they have a little bit larger trees, which is very nice. A lot of times people ask me if these homes all have storm shelters, and the answer is no. But the starting price to install a storm shelter is $3,500, and the most expensive one I've seen has been $10,000, and that's for one that is like a concrete box that you walk in and are saved from a tornado. Some of these homes have their own pools, not all for sure. I was talking to someone about that the other day, like how in Texas, like everyone has a pool. Everyone's got a pool because it's hot. But, you know, we don't here. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One is the expense. Another reason is because, you know, we have a pretty harsh winter sometimes. I know a lot of people that keep their pools open all year. But I grew up with a pool. My parents still have a pool. And I open and close that sucker every year, still. And I don't want a pool. But I get why you would want a pool. I do understand that. A lot of these homes are going to be around 2,000 square feet, 3 bedrooms, probably a study. Some of them have an upstairs, some don't. I've sold ones in here that are 3,000 square feet, but the average is more around 2,000, 2,500. And almost everyone has a privacy fence, although you do not have to have a privacy fence in this neighborhood. That's not like mandated. So it's pretty large in here. So like everything in here has a sidewalk, so it's really nice to walk. I think there's 2 parks in this neighborhood. I know there's one, and I'm picturing a second one. So that's also very nice. So we just exited Summit Lakes on the far east side, and we are now in the country. Not really, but kind of, because everything on my right is pretty much like an acreage property. Usually up to 10 acres, sometimes a little bit more, but we're about at that point, it's like up to 10 acres. So we're crossing Alameda again, and we are on 36th Avenue Southeast. All right, the neighborhood that we're headed to next is Hallbrook, and it's a very special neighborhood. I think it's really interesting. The neighborhood on my right now, though, is Frost Creek, and they have half-acre lots. Across the street from that is a water treatment plant for Norman. So, yeah. So, on this far northeastern side of Hallbrook of Norman is Hall Park. Hall Park was a town that was independent until 2003 when it was annexed into Norman. And so there's still a large neighborhood called Hall Park, and part of it is Hallbrook, which was at one point, I think, just a farm because it was just one big piece of empty land that they were farming. One thing I really like about Hall Park are the walking trails. I think that is very nice. It's also cool how close it is to Tinker Air Force Base. Also a very nice situation if that's where you're working. But I have clients in here who work at OU, of course ones that are retired, etc. So definitely kind of a different vibe and very full of trees. So the houses in Old Hall Park itself were mostly built in like the 80s and 90s. And then Hallbrook was started right around the recession. And a lot of builders in there did not survive the recession, as did most builders. And so some of the houses sat for a long time, years. And some of them were repossessed by the bank, but now Hallbrook is thriving, and they have one of the coolest clubhouses in all of Norman. I love it, and a very nice pool, and all pretty unique houses, and all pretty new. Like there's a lot of custom builds that we see in there. So that's sometimes an option. There are some lots left, and then of course, buying a home that is previously lived in is an option as well. But right now we're in Old Hall Park. So these homes, while not new, are unique. Some of them have been redone, and some of them definitely have not. So right here is where Hall Park turns into Hallbrook, and this is a street where some of those newer homes are. So this is Providence, and there are several lots still available on my left, but these ones on my right, some of them are custom, some of them will be for sale, and maybe they just aren't yet. I did end up making 2 parts of this video because it is long. Norman's a big city, so definitely check out part 2, and I will see you next time.